bass.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Truth and Rhythm. Brought to you by funkandstuff.net, this is the interview show that gets deep in the pocket with contemporary music's foremost masters of the groove. I am your host, Scott Dr. GX Goldfine, musicologist, creative arts journalist, and multimedia pro. Whether you're watching the video version of this show or the audio-only podcast version, I thank you so much for your continued interest and support in this show. If you enjoy this programming, there are several ways to help support Truth and Rhythm, as well as contribute to further enhancements and expansion, plus get some sweet perks and rewards in the process. First, subscribe to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube, which is where Truth and Rhythm lives, and be an advocate by spreading the word among fellow funk, jazz, and R&B music lovers. Second, join Truth and Rhythm's new membership program through Patreon, which features 3 tiers for truth believers, truth seekers, and truth crusaders. You can also submit a direct donation to the cause anytime at funkandstuff.net. At that site, which is loaded with awesome content, you can also purchase the book Everything's on the One, The First Guide of Funk, shop for official Truth and Rhythm and Funk and Stuff merchandise, and use the Amazon links for all of your online purchases, which allocates a percentage to this show. Sponsorship opportunities are available as well. Contact me directly at scottg@funkandstuff.net. For those of you who go the extra step in supporting the show, you have my heartfelt gratitude for allowing us to continue to shine the light on those special artists whose quest is to find truth in rhythm. Hey, before we get started with today's show, I just want to draw your attention to new merchandise. Funk and Stuff and Truth and Rhythm designs are in, and they look pretty darn cool. So show your support, help support the program, and show off some stylish merchandise and apparel. Only at the Funk and Stuff store. I'm pleased to welcome to the Truth and Rhythm Mothership, Nikki Glaspie, a versatile and adventurous drummer who continues to distinguish herself through the idioms of R&B, soul, funk, jazz, and the jam band circuit. A child prodigy, she progressed through musical academics and was inspired by players like Dennis Chambers, Dave Grohl, Questlove, and Maurice White, among many others. Her big break came as a member of superstar Beyonce's all-female touring band, the Suga Mamas. She then immersed herself in New Orleans funk and became a member of Ivan Neville's Dumpstaphunk before settling into her present soulful trio known as the Nth Power. Nikki, thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you, and
Yeah.
man, you've kept so busy even through the pandemic, it seems. Somehow you've managed to keep it all going.
Yeah, somehow. I mean, that's the thing when you're a musician. A lot of musicians can attest to this. You're obsessed with music. So, you know, it's like I don't have a choice. Even if I'm not playing a gig, I'm still creating and playing.
Were you a little worried or freaked out at first, or did it take a little bit of an adjustment period to hey, this is how I can make it still happen?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely that, I think, for everyone. Just like not just musicians, but anyone that had a job that dealt with travel or, you know, anything that was like consumer based, restaurants, bars, all of those types of jobs. Yeah, it was nerve wracking. Still is. It was like I lost an entire year of work, just like everyone else. So the first 2 months for me were pretty rough. I was more depressed than anything else, but that was just because I couldn't play music. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
couldn't go play for the people and see the people and talk to the people. You know, and give the people what they want. So that
Yeah.
was probably the toughest thing about the pandemic. But then, the third month came around and it was kind of like, okay, well, this is where we are. This is what we're doing. So I need to figure out how to make the most of my time and, stay sharp.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness we're seeing the daylight. And
Yeah,
where are you
definitely.
coming to us from today, Nikki?
Austin, Texas. Yep. I moved here about 2 years ago and I'm loving it.
Wow. And before that, you were in New Orleans or
No, I was in New York.
New York? Okay.
Yep, I actually never lived in New Orleans. Everybody thinks that I did, but I didn't just because I played with Dumpstaphunk. But I mean, I spent a lot of time there, but I never actually took up an address there.
Yeah. So how's Austin treating you? I mean, it's another great musical town for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy that I moved here when I did. Because, I mean, New York is just impossible. I'm like, I don't even know if I would have been able to survive. I mean, obviously, like you find a way, and a lot of my friends that live in New York, they're still doing it. Uh, but I was really happy to be here because, I mean, we were one of the first states that opened up per se. I've had a regular gig every Thursday since January, and I think I started playing locally like in November or something like that. So, because the weather is good here year round, there's lots of outdoor venues, and lots of outdoor gigs. So, I was lucky for that.
Yeah. So, Nikki, tell us a little bit about, how you got into the drums. I know it was through church and you ended up going to Berkeley and that kind of thing, but can you just kind of bring us up to speed a little bit on your background with that?
Yeah, I mean, I came out of the womb playing drums essentially. I like would pull pots and pans out of the cupboard and start beating on them with spoons or whatever I could find. And my mom, she plays keys, and she's a minister of music. So I started playing in church with her at a very early age. And my dad, he used to play saxophone a long time ago, but he's always been a music lover. So a lot of my influence comes from the things that he exposed me to, as well. But I grew up playing in church, and I played in every single band in high school that you can imagine. Pep band, jazz band, concert band, the symphonic band. I was in the pit for plays. I would do anything that had to do with music. I was doing it. So then I decided to go to Berkeley, which was kind of the next step. I actually didn't know that I was going to be a professional musician per se. Like, I wanted to be a cardiopulmonary pathophysiologist when I was younger,
That's a
and
mouthful.
yeah, I figured out that like I wouldn't be able to operate until I was like 36. After going to school for that long and studying the body, I would not be able to, fully uh, be in my career in my field until I was 36. And really, I just wanted to help people. And then I realized that I could help people playing music. So when I was in high school, my senior year, I took a dramatic turn, because I had already planned to go to Duke for undergrad and like go to Johns Hopkins for medical school and like had the whole thing mapped out. And then, like 2 months before I graduated, I told my family, like, I think I'm gonna go to music school. They're like, what? Like, you want to be broke for the rest of your life? And I was like, as long as I'm happy, yeah, you know. And so that's pretty much what happened. I went to Berkeley. I just knew I needed to study music. I didn't know, like what capacity I would be involved in music, like as a career. I really had no idea. I just knew that I needed to study music. So, honestly, like playing gigs kind of came out of necessity because I was broke in college in Boston, Massachusetts, one of the most expensive places on the planet, and I needed to eat, So I started playing local gigs for like 75, $50, Eventually, it became 100. And we're still getting paid $100 for gigs these days, which is crazy. I saw this meme, which is so funny. It's like a Back to the Future meme, and Doc says, "Marty, musicians are still getting paid $100 a gig in 2056." It's
Oh
so
man.
funny. Um, but yeah, just one thing led to another that led to another, and I just kept playing. And I figured out that I didn't need to actually graduate from college to work in my field. Like, I just kind of started doing it, and then that was it.
And you ended up in a field with a lot of healing aspects to it,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say that I've been able to, you know, touch more lives and um, reach more people playing music than I would if I had been a heart surgeon.
And you got to spend, those 12 or 14 years doing that instead of in a classroom.
Yeah, instead of being in a classroom, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I
but I mean, that's the thing is that it's all the classroom. Like I go to Life University. It's like it's like I learn something every day. You know.
Sure. I feel you though. I took kinesiology back in college for a while and I got
Okay.
into organic chemistry and I was like, I don't have enough passion for this. So steered a
Yeah.
different direction. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of how it is, and I mean, I have a philosophy that people have to listen to what their spirit tells them. You know, because that's really the only way to lead a happy, fulfilled life. Is like they say money can't buy happiness. It's true. I mean, money can buy a lot of things, but it can't buy
Makes
happiness.
some things easier, but not
It
happiness.
makes things
Yeah.
easier. It does. But
Yeah.
to like truly be happy, I think you have to do the thing that you're passionate about. You know, and because I mean, I see so many people that you know the weight of society, the way it's so much for them. It's like, oh, I have to do this. I have to go to law school and become a lawyer because that's what my parents expect of me, and I have to get married and have kids because that's kind of like what society puts on you.
You,
And
you,
especially living in the US, like you have to be successful, and make a lot of money, and people measure success based on how much money they make, you know but it's
but
like that's not real.
even Nikki, that's so true, even in just music too itself,
It is.
of
It
conforming
is.
to what, you think's going to sell or what the record label wants or what your management tells you to do or,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I mean, from where I sit, you've followed your muse, for the
Yeah.
most part. And that's amazing and fantastic. And that's why I think you built such a loyal following too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely thankful for it. But yeah, typically if it doesn't feel good, like don't do it. So
Gut
that's
check.
kind of
Yeah.
what I live by.
How did you cultivate such diverse appreciation of different music genres and forms? I mean, you seem so open to it.
Yeah, honestly, like my dad exposing me to different types of music when I was younger. When I was 15, we had this like epic drive, and he played me Van Halen 1984, Rage Against the Machine, the OJ's, Gap Band, Eve 6, and that just kind of opened me up. I mean, when I was in high school, one of my best friends was like super heavy into like Marilyn Manson and Nirvana. So I would always listen to everything, because I don't know. It just I love it. I love all types of music. Like classical, jazz. Like I love it all, and I love listening to it and taking it in. And I think that really, I mean, I say this a lot. There's only like two types of music, two genres, if you will. It's like good and bad. It's either good or bad. There's no like um real like substantial difference to me between genres. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I mean there are distinct differences in the sound, but the ideas are the same.
Hmm. Is
So
there one that, or a couple of genres maybe that you feel is more your sweet spot, or not necessarily, or one that you enjoy more? Or...
yeah, I mean funk is like what I live for, but rock too. Funk and rock are probably my two like favorite things to play, but I also love playing reggae. It's so much fun. And and improvising, just like free jazz, if you want to call it that, exploration music. I love that. And just recently, I mean, within the past uh, like 6 years, I've really gotten deeper into that with like Tefra Sound with Brian Haas and Helen Gillet, and Scarrick really was the one that um, recommended that I play with Helen, and she called Brian. So I've been playing a lot more with Brian Haas from Jacob Fred Jazz Odyssey, and Mike Dillon too, which is so much fun because they're like-minded individuals. Like Brian comes from like a classical like jazz background, but he loves it all. He really loves reggae. And Mike D coming from like a jazz punk rock, background, but he loves the funk and go-go and everything else in between. So it's like we all have different backgrounds, but we all meet in the middle because we love it all. So it's like we just play it all, and it's a lot of fun.
What's your approach in general? I mean, do you rehearse, or how much do you think out, your parts, or how much
Yeah,
do
it
you just let it?
depends. It depends on like what I'm doing. Like if the Nth Power is doing a tribute show, we definitely rehearse. We rehearse like for months. To first get the material. You know, a lot of times, and like people don't know this, like we'll go through like 40 tunes. We'll actually like learn 40 tunes and then be like, okay, these are the 20 or 25 that work, you know. And then, build a show, then start doing arrangements and all of those things. So, it depends on what I'm doing. We could rehearse for months, and then there's other gigs like I was talking about with Tefra or like Mike D. We don't rehearse at all. We just do it. Some of it is like we're composing on the spot, and then some of it is some of them are songs, but we don't rehearse. We just play them. You know, but the cool thing about that is that like every time, like because we don't rehearse, every time we play it, it can be interpreted in a different way, which is probably the coolest thing about it. Like we don't really play a song the same way twice.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know with Nth Power, you've done some Earth, Wind, and Fire covers, and I understand Reese White was a big influence for you. Can you speak to that a little bit at all? What influence has he had on your style or your spiritual,
Yeah,
feeling?
definitely. I mean, Earth, Wind- Earth, Wind, and Fire, and that's the thing is that I came to it kind of late, in my musical journey in my career. Um, I always like heard Earth, Wind, and Fire. I think the first time that I heard of Earth, Wind, and Fire was when I was in high school. We did my marching band. We did an arrangement of "After the Love Is Gone," and it's such a beautiful song. Like even in a marching environment, I was like, man, this song is so gorgeous. Um, but it took me a while to like actually get there and like listen to it, and go through their I'm still going through their catalog because they had so many records, and he also produced so many different bands and artists. um I'm still digging through it all. But I would say that Earth, Wind, and Fire is probably my favorite band because one of my favorite bands. I have many, of course, but the most influential on me because they figured out, or the main focus was the message of the music, you know, and doing the show, I what I did was I went through all the songs that we had all like suggested, and I listened to all of them and I wrote down the lyrics as I heard them, instead of like looking them up or whatever, which also was a way, part of the way that one of the ways that I used to study music and all the parts and everything is to write down the lyrics. And in doing that, I really saw their vision and also the impact that they had on the world through what was actually said in the songs. So not only was he like one of the greatest musicians, that band collectively uh, were incredible musicians, still are, and the way that they married style, groove, musicality with the message, the way that they put it all together, was just so beautiful and will live forever. That like that's the mark for me. Like that's the type of artist that I want to be. I want to leave something for the world, you know, and he left us something that's so beautiful. I mean, even now, it's like whenever I was like cleaning out the van the other day, and there was a guy like vacuuming his car out, and he was blasting Love's Holiday, but it was a live version, and it was a version that I'd never heard before. And I was like, man, this is amazing. That I mean, I don't even know what year that song came out.
I think 77.
You know that over 40 years later, people are blasting it, and it's just amazing. Like even the feeling I get just hearing that and seeing someone else enjoying that and loving it. It's great. But I mean, I feel that way about Marley too. You know, he's another artist that I aim to be like or have the impact that he had because what he did was incredible, and it still lives, and I think that that's the thing that is most notable and amazing about it is that even after you're gone, it still lives. He died the year that I was born, but he has like such a huge influential role in my life, you know. And I think that's like the beautiful thing about music or art, for that matter, period. All art, you know, authors, people that write, writers, you know, artists, visual artists, you know, dancers, composers, all of it, you know.
Mhm. It's interesting to me, Nikki, the spin that you guys bring on it. Speaking of Earth, Wind, Fire, still specifically, with a trio format, and Earth, Wind, Fire was such a big band with all the horns and everything, and the way you guys, bring like Shining Star down to its sort of essence, and do that,
Yeah.
um, that must be challenging though, in a way,
No,
to
it
make it.
is. It is
Yeah.
challenging. It's very challenging, but like that's that's what we do, you know. You always want to push yourself, you know, no matter what you're doing. And that is something that the Nth Power we live by. You know, it doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, we can play that song. You know, it doesn't matter what the instrumentation is. But that also proves how great of a song it is. That doesn't matter the instrumentation, the song still, you know, is as effective if you have 3 people playing it or if you have 15 people playing it, you know.
How did you meet those guys?
I met Nate when I was like 18. I met him at Wally's, which is a club that I used to play in Boston. And we we were never actually in a band together, but we had a a group, if you will, that we wrote for. Like we would just get together and, you know, churn songs out for fun. And then the opportunity presented itself that we could play together, and you know that's kind of how the Nth Power started. And Nick, I met Nick when he was he just graduated high school, and I met him through Jen Hartwick because I lived in Boston. I would play, you know, all over the Northeast with Sam Kinninger and different cover bands. I was in a band called Felix Brown, and um, Jen asked me to play in her band, and she was like, "Yo, this kid's gonna come and like teach us his song, and we're gonna do his song." And he showed up and just was ripping, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "How old are you?" You know, he's like, "I just graduated high school," you know. And then I saw him on the train in New York. I think like 7 years later or something like that. And he was like, "Remember me? I play with Jen," and I was like, "Of course I remember you." So he actually started playing in a band that I went to school with you know people that I'd known for forever. And it was just ironic. He actually ended up marrying one of my best friends that I went to college with. Uh, so yeah, I met Nick through Jen Hartwick essentially, and that's how we Nick and Nate actually met on stage when we played the first time. They did not know each other, but now they do, obviously, very well.
Yeah, well, it's working.
Yeah,
That's for sure. Nothing like really young talent,
yeah,
that's like some of that has to be innate, I believe. You can't just learn all that, you got to have a gift.
yeah, yeah. I mean, to some extent, like some of it is gift, and then the other part is hard work for sure. You know, like we're all students. You know, we study music, so that's kind of like what comes out of us. You know, and yeah, we're so excited to get back to it. It's been a
Everyone's
long
happy
time.
about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So how old were you? Or should I say, how young were you when you connected with the Beyonce uh, band?
Um, 22. I was 22 when I got the gig. Yep.
So, um, how like gaga were you about that, or did you somehow take it in stride?
Yeah, I mean, I was at first, but then, like, once we started to get to work, there wasn't any room for that. It was just all work, you know. We would rehearse like 12 to 18 hours a day. You know, it just depended on what needed to get done. So, yeah, I didn't think that I ever would have a gig like that. So that was really cool, you know, when it happened. But it was just kind of just a testament to hard work
Like
again.
boot camp in a way?
Yeah, boot camp. But I mean, I've always been a hard worker like my entire life. I always studied. Like I was always a good student, and you know that was just kind of like, okay, you've been preparing for this for a very long time, so here it is. You know, like I wasn't one of those kids that smoked weed and drank in high school. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying that like I was very studious. You know, I was not out, you know, gallivanting. I was, I was in my room working, studying.
I'm not a, necessarily a Beyonce fan per se, but I sure respect
Me
her
either.
craft and what she can do and how hard she
Yeah.
works, and her
Yo,
success and all that. So,
she's an extremely, I mean, she's the hardest working woman in show business probably. And I saw it with my own eyes. I was there for most of it. you know. And yeah, she's an incredible talent.
what
I
was like,
learned a lot from her.
what was maybe like one of the most unforgettable experiences you had just being on that tour?
I mean, there's a lot. There's many of them, but probably when we played in Nigeria, that was crazy, but it was kind of like a real life experience at the same time because we played like to an open field of probably, I don't know, 60,000 people or something like that. And then the people that couldn't afford to actually be at the concert, they were at a field, another field, I don't know, maybe half a mile away or something, watching it on a projector. And apparently there was like 80,000 people over there. And the projector went out over there, and all those people started coming to where we were, and they were mad. They were pissed off because because the screen went out, and they couldn't see the show. So we had to actually like get off stage and boogie, because it was about to be a riot. So that was definitely an unforgettable experience. Um,
Wow.
and
Did they make up the show, or just that's what ended up happening?
no, that's just what ended up happening. I mean, we got through the show. It was just kind of like, yo, you know, we gotta go now. Like, grab your shit, let's go. you know, the tour manager had to like grab some dudes with guns to like protect us to get us like out of there. You
Mm.
know, but I mean, we had some crazy times in Brazil as well. Um, yeah, we played like the biggest stadium out there for like 140,000 people, and yeah, there was that. I mean, it was kind of like every day there was something. you know, it's
Did you get to enjoy yourself, or is there some downtime where you got to enjoy, traveling around the world?
there wasn't a lot of downtime, but we managed to fit it in. We were young, so we were burning the candle at both ends, so to speak. So yeah, I got to see the world. I got to experience it for sure.
That's fantastic.
And I
And
mean, I still am, you know.
what time frame wise, did that include the Grammys where Prince performed with Beyonce? Was
No,
that
that
this?
was that was before I got there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was curious because I was looking at Beyonce's band that included you, and I was thinking, was that sort of like maybe a template that Prince like looked at for his Third Eye Girl group that he ended up having later on?
Yeah. Yep. Probably. I mean, I don't know if it was like a template more so than it was just. I mean, he always had women playing with him, you know?
But not
It
the all
wasn't
girl
like an
band. Yeah.
all female band, but
Yeah.
lots of females, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, like, one of my favorite drummers, Sheila E., that's like why I know who she is, because Prince, you know? And Kat Dyson, you play guitar and do Power Generation.
And you,
I'm so lucky that I get to play music with her now. It's amazing. She
yeah,
is
that's
incredible.
is it always that same lineup for that group, or is it shift or
For
uh,
Kamani,
yeah?
yeah, just kind of like it's fluid right now. But originally it was Kat Dyson and I and Nigel Hall and Matt Lapham, and Nigel wasn't able to make the last run, so we had Sput Seawright and Xavier Taplin join the band, and also Sean Martin. So it's just like you'll see any of those people when you see Kamani.
Yeah, that's an amazing band. I mean, from the footage, I haven't gotten to see it in person, but the footage I've seen that's posted on YouTube is just great.
Yeah, I mean it's so much fun. It's a lot of fun.
That's a super band for sure.
Yeah, yeah. We'll be at Halloween this year,
Oh, cool.
which we're super excited for that. I mean, that's the thing is that the band just kind of started. The first run we did was in November, so it's a brand new baby band, you know. Um, and I guess that'll be our first festival. Yeah.
How do you settle on the repertoire? You know what the track list
Oh,
will be, set list will be.
it constantly changes. There's no settling.
So does every member just throw something out there and say, you guys want to try this or?
Not really. I'm kind of in charge of the song list, but there have been suggestions. I mean, like I'm open to it. I'm not one of those people that's like, no, we can't play that. You know? Yeah.
So would you categorize yourself as sort of the music director, or the band director, or?
Mhm.
Yeah, you are. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and for how many groups that you play with, do you take on that kind of role?
Well, now three of them, I guess. But I'm like I'm always I always volunteer to help in any way. But yeah, I mean, the Nth Power is more of like a conglomerate. You know what I mean? It's like we all make musical decisions. And like for Nikki Glaspie and the homies, that's obviously just me because it's my name, so it's my band. And then Kamani, it just kind of like ended up being me because that's kind of what happens.
I love the homie stuff, being, old school funk guy that I am. Just the set lists for that are just great. And how do you fit so many people on that small stage? That's
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing is that I grew up playing in Wally's, and that stage is teeny, so it's just like you figure it out. You figure out like how, different angles. It's like I turn the drum sideways so that it doesn't take up as much space, you know. And then we have like the row of like guitar. It's like guitar, bass, guitar, keys, and then in front you know, we've got vocals and horns and another keyboard. So it's like you figure it out, you know.
I miss being able to go to the Mint. I used to live in Los Angeles. I'm from Los Angeles. Now I'm in the
Yeah,
Charlotte
I see the
area.
Lakers hat.
Yeah. Yeah. The Mint was a great place to hang out.
Oh man, it's the best.
There's much more to this great Truth and Rhythm interview. Just continue on to the next part of the episode. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. And become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon or consider donating at funkandstuff.net. Thank you very much.